Hello, welcome. David Zaritsky from Z Lifestyle. Welcome back. Very excited about this particular video podcast. You can see in back of me a little hint that I like James Bond, and if you didn't know that, well, you've been hiding under a rock. What I'm going to do today is actually talk about Steve McQueen's influence on James Bond and Steve McQueen in general. Now, I don't think anybody can deny out there that Steve McQueen was a fashion icon. A lot of people talk about it as there was a PR firm that was actually siphoning in that particular iconic fashion. But it doesn't matter. I mean, the shawl color cardigan, the Persol glasses, they become indelible in our idea of fashion. And it holds true today. And it's even influenced good old James Bond. So let's talk about that today. First of all, let's talk about what I'm wearing. Clearly, this blue cardigan is not from a James Bond film, but it's got many of the attributes that you saw in Quantum of Solace in the Tom Ford cardigan. I'm sure you remember that one. Well, this one is actually offered by thekingofcool.com. Great website, huge fan of it. So thekingofcool.com is a bunch of Steve McQueen fans that basically got together and decided to replicate a lot of his clothing just like this. And they did a great job. So they mixed acrylic and wool together so it washes better, but a lot of the stitching is very similar to the one that Steve McQueen wears on that, again, very iconic drive out into the country that many people have photographed over time. They've got the football leather buttons, they've got all the details and stitching. But what was amazing to me when I purchased this and received this from the King of Cool is that when I compared it to the Tom Ford cardigan, stitch for stitch, it's almost the same. Now the Tom Ford cardigan comes a little bit higher. This one, as you can see, is a little bit longer, which is fitting in very much with the style of the 60s. And by the way, I'm kind of decked out in Steve McQueen today. I've got the kind of slouch chinos on. I've got the suede chukka boots, which he wore quite a bit. These particular ones are Clark's. Who knows what he wore? But the style's there. In addition, many of you probably recognize this particular sweat t-shirt type piece. This is also from the King of Cool. And you can see, if you kind of come in, that all of these pieces are labeled with the man himself, Steve McQueen, which is a really nice, iconic piece. Really high reviews. This is obviously a replica of The Great Escape, and if you had any question of what it is, and I don't think the camera will be able to pick it up, but there is actually a stylized picture of Steve McQueen on a motorcycle on the back of the shirt. And the shirt's fantastic. But let's talk about this for a little bit. Was Steve McQueen an influence on Bond's fashion, especially in the last few Craig films? Let's take a look. Let's have a look. Something's over here that really doesn't quite belong. Steve McQueen's glasses in Quantum of Solace. Well, not too unusual. I mean, Steve McQueen was a big fan of the Persol sunglasses. These that you actually see here were a re-release of the 714 Persols. And if you go inside, they did an incredible job. They've got a wonderful cleaning cloth. They've got a absolutely beautiful leather holder. And the 714s that became iconic, especially in the Thomas Crown affair, were pretty much replicated. Now, the mechanism of action, if you will, the way they fold out, is a little bit different. In the older ones, they kind of folded this way. But let's face it, the ones that were used in that particular movie went for $60,000 in an auction. So I'll take these. And by the way, these particular ones are available still on eBay. They do fetch a nice little price because they are relatively rare. It was a very limited amount. I will tell you from a review standpoint, I love these. They're very cool. They're very different. People do kind of a double take when they see you out there with these, but they're heavy. I'm telling you right now, you will have divots. So if you think that you're going to have the light Tom Ford ones, you're fooling yourself. But did these type of things influence Bond? Well, perhaps. I mean, think of all the Persol sunglasses that he's worn in Casino Royale and even Die Another Day. They've really seen their time. So The reality is that Purcell has been carrying on, and these are a type of thing that, for example, Daniel Craig, as an individual, has worn, wears, and influences his personal style. I'm sure you all remember the desert scene in Quantum of Solace. Wears a very interesting Tom Ford Harrington jacket. This particular one here is kind of a frugal budget one from Old Navy. It was actually less than $20, but it really does fit the bill. And the reality is that in the Harrington's case, if you take a look at the Barracuda, which Steve McQueen not only wore in the movies, but actually in real life too, in his personal wear, the Barracuda jacket, especially in the cream color, mimics and really looks like the one that you see in the Quantum of Solace desert scene. And in fact, this particular Old Navy one I quite like because it's got the ribbed bottom just like the Barracuda does, as well as kind of the tartan interior, which is kind of neat. And then you kind of put it all together, and you've got a very inexpensive, I think again this was like 19 something. Old Navy still carries this type of jacket. It's their third year in the row that they've done that. So whether you're looking for the Quantum of Solace look or if you're looking for the Steve McQueen look, you could still replicate it. And by the way, to kind of bring the point home, this is actually an interesting piece right here. And I hope the camera can pick this up. But Daniel Craig looks like he had a particular option before the blue jacket in Quantum of Solace to wear a beige, almost cream-like Harrington jacket from Tom Ford. This is the actual one that Daniel Craig was wearing. And it's a beautiful piece from Tom Ford, but you can see how the Steve McQueen Barracuda jacket that you see in a lot of the pictures really influenced this particular type of style, from the cadet neckline all the way through to the different colors. And let's see if we can find it. Here's the little special tag that really makes it special. But it says Tom Ford, Daniel Craig, Bond 22. Very nice piece. But shows the Steve McQueen style without question. Let's keep taking a look. Come on. I'm all ready for the Great Escape. I've got the Great Escape outfit on. Pretty much I've got the KingOfCool.com sweatshirt on. Very comfortable, by the way. I love this thing. Thank you, King of Cool. As well as the A2 jacket and the chinos like you've seen in the film. And the A2 jacket is something that's been around since the 1930s. The military corps would issue them. There was a solid leather placket in the back. It had a lot of things like either a cotton or kind of a satin interior. They all kind of had a very, very similar look to them. The ribbed sides so there wouldn't get air in there in high flights, as well as the ribbed bottom. But as you can see, here's the Armani jacket seen in Casino Royale. Quite frankly, a lot of similarities, even around the particular collar with the ribbings. It's got that type of look with the snap pockets, etc. Now, am I saying that Armani copied the A2 jacket? No, but the influence, the absolute influence, is undeniable. By the way, for those of you trying to get the frugal Steve McQueen look, again, highly recommend this from the King of Cool. But in addition, these A2 jackets used, which this one particular was, can be found for anywhere from $20 to $30. I don't think you have to pay more than $50, quite frankly. In fact, this one came in a little roughed up. I like that because it looks a little distressed like the one in The Great Escape. So, big, big thumbs up for this one. You know, it's interesting. There's quite a few pictures out there if you see Daniel Craig in his everyday personal style, which a lot of people actually follow that particular style. You can see that he himself has been influenced by Steve McQueen in the fashion. Very, very simple, streamlined 1960s look that really never goes out. I think people nowadays call it the hipster particular look. A long way from the refined look of Tom Ford, but certainly Steve McQueen is a look and a feel and emotion that I feel personally has influenced Bond, has influenced people, and has influenced the very style that we have today. So this has been David Zaritsky for Z Lifestyle. Stay tuned. In a few podcasts we will actually have the frugal Steve McQueen look, how to get the frugal look, the very basic, simplistic 1960s look for less, but that's at another time. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.